to Asenso Tayo Leaders, where we bring you real stories from leaders like you so you can lead with more clarity, direction, and confidence.
You've definitely found your way onto the right podcast. Like everything you just described is why we started this podcast. You're probably thinking the same thing, Maria. It's like we want to help people all over the Philippines see what's possible and take the next step and then the next step and the next step in their own leadership journey, whatever that is. Something that I suppose we speak with every guest about to some extent is there's obviously some areas where the people in our audience and the people you're looking to help have challenges, but then you could also look at that group and go, I actually think they have unique advantages, and that there's part of wherever the future is going when it comes to leadership and career, that there are natural advantages that sit within the Philippines as well. What's your perspective on that? I suppose, what's your pitch to young females in the Philippines about why they are perfectly placed for the future and there's something exciting to look forward to in the future?
I think that the Philippines has kind of a wealth of talent. And there's so much talent here that I feel like is still untapped. That everybody knows already about what we've done in outsourcing and the contact centers and BPOs. And before that, it was the OFWs. And still, those two industries, or those two really are the ones that create a lot of incoming revenue and investment and money into the country. And one thing that I was still surprised about as well is that outsourcing is still, I guess, an area that investors are still looking at in the Philippines. Now, again, I started my journey in 2000. It's 2026 now. And you would think that we'd be tapped out and would be saturated and, there isn't anything new that's coming in. But there are still companies, that are less than 5 years old who've started up here. Yeah. And I was like, still more people are coming here, which just indicates that there is still a lot of talent that we have here in the Philippines that can be continued to be honed and can continue to be developed to be able to support global companies. And if I were, thinking about the young women who are scholars, again, I would direct them towards, outside of their communities. There is so much more for them to do. And there are so many more opportunities for them to be a part of these different companies, or even to, be a part of a global company that will eventually, maybe send them abroad for the very first time to work with other people so that they can continue to send that message to wherever they are saying, hey, I'm a Filipino. I was of underprivileged background. I had a great opportunity, and this is what we can do in the Philippines. So to be able to show the world the talent, so that we can continuously have that investment and that growth and the opportunities for people here in the Philippines, I think is really important. And so that's what I would encourage, people to do, or for these young women to really believe in themselves and to be able to pursue something so that they could further their own example, their lives as an example to others outside of the Philippines, and make sure that they can also invest in the talent that's here. Did that make sense? Did I answer the question, or did I go off on a tangent?
Yeah, absolutely did. But I think that's the same thing too, is like you are empowering them to be the change that you want to see. It's almost like all these mini Oprahs that you're creating in the world who can create real change. I think it's an incredibly inspiring way to make a difference, is to think bigger and connect with people to further your mission.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. Thank you.
And I can't help but ask Monica about your book. About becoming SHEroes.
Becoming SHEroes, yeah. Yeah, so this is one of those things also that I jumped in not knowing what I was doing.
Another one.
So very, very common thing.
My friend would say, like, I'm an activator, so I will go out and I'll activate something. So I was at a conference, a staffing industry conference, and there were a group of women. This was just out of COVID, or, just when people started to travel again. And there was a group of women who had written a book and they were launching it at the conference. And I was listening to them as they were, talking about the book, talking about its beginnings and all of that. And they were giving out great books. And I was flipping through it and I was like, gosh, these are great stories. And this is a great meeting. And I was thinking, we have a lot of great Filipinas back home. And they have great stories as well. I bet I could do this myself. If I go back to the Philippines, let me find some people in my network who've got great stories who are willing to share that. And let me, write a book and we'll go out and see what we can do with it. So, so that's what I did. When I came back home, I talked to my best friend and she's like, yes, let's do it. 6 months later, we did nothing. We did nothing about it. And then I was then I was at another conference, and I decided, okay, why don't I just talk? And these women were at the same conference again. Why don't I just talk to them and find out, how do they do it? Did they get a publisher? How do they do it? And so I talked to one of the leaders of that group, and she hooked me up with somebody there. And I was like, okay, great. Now I've got the information. Let me just go sit down back at my seat and let me listen to the rest of the panel and the conference. She went up on stage and she was like, talking about the book. And she said, you know what? There's a woman in this room who is going to do the same thing. She is going to write a book with others and she's going to take this idea to the Philippines and she's going to write this book. And I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
She said it out loud. Now I have
The pressure.
Exactly. Immediately, there's all this pressure. So 400 women in this room, they're like, wow, yay. And of course, I was probably the only Filipinos in the room. They're like, congratulations. We're so happy for you. You're representing. And I was like, yeah, great. So I was like, now I really have to do it because now I'm accountable to these 400 women. And she's like, I'm so glad there's a woman of color doing this. And I was like, I'm a woman of color? Oh my gosh.
Learning so much about myself.
I know. I mean, back home, I'm the same color as everybody else. So I don't know. So that's how it started, and it just took this one woman to say, you know what, you're going to do this. And it kind of forced me out of procrastination, I think. And I then started to, find women in my network and friends of friends whom I've never met before. And we all got together and we started talking about the vision for it and what we wanted to do with it. And the proceeds of the book go to my foundation. So anything that we make goes to the foundation. Yeah. So that's been really good. And now it's we were selling it online. But now we're going to be selling it at Fully Booked. So we have 6 branches here in Manila where the book is going to be sold as well. Okay. So that's something new. Yeah, so
there's Fully Booked here right across our office in Ayala.
I think I've been there in Ayala.
Yes, you've been there.
I've been there, yes. It's really big, like all these different counters. Yeah, I've been there before. Yeah. Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, so that's how it started. Again, I jumped in not knowing what I was doing. It was hard also. I didn't think, it would be as difficult, but, I was kept on track. And, since it was my idea, I'm the one who has to go to each one of the authors, 14 other authors and say, are you done with your first draft? Mm-hmm. Okay, let me read it. Okay, let's change it a little. I talked to somebody else, what do we think of this and that? And so it was a situation also. Yeah. But again, it was good to do and to get out. And now that we have something super proud of doing, and everybody's like, when's your second book? And I was like, wait, I'm recovering still.
Yeah. I'm enjoying the weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's that's how it started, Maria. Somebody sparked an idea, and I believe that we had great people here in the Philippines who could do the same. And then another woman just kind of pushed it forward, and now became accountable to all of these women because she said I was going to do it, and so
and thanks to your best friend too, who said, "Go ahead,
let's do it." Yeah.
Without even thinking about it.
Yeah, and my best friend actually, her mom is one of the authors in the book. Her story, and she's actually, we have a wide range of women in industries and ages. She's the oldest of the group, and she actually talks about how she was a journalist during the first Marcos, the Marcos Senior, during the time of
Okay.
martial law, during the time of martial
Oh
law.
my gosh, that must be so
And
tough.
yeah, and so that was one of the things she talked about. Is like, how could she be a true and honest journalist, knowing fully well that she was against
Yeah.
him at the
Yeah.
time? And at the time, Amy Marcos, his daughter, asked her, I want you, didn't ask her, told her, I want you to interview my father. And she was like,
What?
exactly. She goes, you know that I do not believe in what your father is doing. You know that I'm against him. Amy said, I don't care. I want you to interview him. So she talks about how she could still be true
Yeah.
without being biased. Because, in
Yeah.
martial law, they were, during that time, they were, journalists, if he didn't like you or
Yeah.
his regime didn't like you, you were gone.
Yeah.
We didn't know where you went,
Yeah. This is a
So,
terrible time in the Philippines, Becky.
Yeah.
With the government. Like
Yeah.
it's just internal war.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so but she did it anyway. And I think it was, I think it was also Imy's way of saying, hey, here's a journalist who doesn't like my father, who is openly against him, but she's the one who's going to write the article about him. So that's what she did.
Bit of a power play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She talks about that and other struggles in her journey as a journalist. She eventually was in the Human Rights Commission for Cory Aquino when she became president as well.
Yeah.
And she continued to do peace building. Also, now she's retired, but yeah, a very good story of hers too.
Yeah, for sure. That's a powerful story.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
So, Monica, you've been speaking to a lot of superpower women for sure in that book alone, and not to
Yeah.
mention people that you've speaking to. I would say probably, I don't know if this is true for you as well in your experience, but from my end, so far, we have client experience coaches, what we call here
Yeah.
in 5Elk, and not just client experience coaches, but in general, we also really have, a lot of the departments are actually being led by women.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Becky, but that's just reality at
It's very
5Elk.
outnumbered for sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we are predominantly women at 5Elk. I think, and one of the things in one of the conversations I've had with one of the ladies was like talking about, oh, I'm not quite so sure if I want to take it to the next level in my career because I'm just this. Like, I've been with some businesses who are all dominated by men and things like that, and I wasn't sure if I can do it because I have that doubt. I guess I'd like to hear from you, knowing that, you have heard a lot of stories, you've met a lot of people, a lot of influence. Like, what are the kind of superpower of women in leadership? So I
Yeah.
want to tap into your thoughts on that, Monica, because I'm sure a lot of our audience would, cling on this. Yeah, listen to this and get a bit more push on, okay, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Sometimes women, regardless of where they are, sometimes they make themselves smaller because they're not confident. There's something about women, they almost want to have the perfect answer in the perfect situation because they think that if they have learned something or they want to do something and it's perfect, then that will get them ahead. Whereas for men, it doesn't always have to be perfect and they don't necessarily need to know everything. So if you take for a skill or, a competency, and women will try to perfect it. And I want to be really, really good at it. The men are like, I got 20%. I'm good. I'm going to tell everybody I'm at 100%. And so that confidence level that men will be able to, that they can do it and, they believe that they can do it. That's kind of the thing that, women need to have is you don't need to be perfect to do a good job. You don't need to have all of the answers to be a good leader. You don't even have to always have the right answers. I think one of the biggest things that I have learned is to be able to just, as long as you're a leader and you show up for your team, that's what they need the most. They don't necessarily need all of the right answers. They don't need to have you understand everything, but they just need you to show up and to understand where they're at. And then being vulnerable enough to say, you know what, I don't know all the answers. I don't have everything squared away and I don't have everything in a nice, neat package. I need your help. That becomes even more empowering for your team because they're like, oh, okay, so we are a part the team. Let me see, how can I help? So if women realize that they don't need to be perfect, they just need to be able to have the voice and be able to say, here I am, and I am here to be a part of the team. I'm here to help. I believe I can do this. I just need, the time, the space, the, support. I think that's what will help women. And I think also that's another thing that people or women struggle to realize is that independent doesn't necessarily mean that you don't need help.
Yeah.
Because, we strive to be strong, independent women. I can do this. I can do this. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't need help or you don't need the support. You just need to be able to say, hey, you know what? I am going to climb this mountain, or I am going to do this project that I've never done before, or I'm going to take on this role that my boss told me that I can do, but I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah.
Just go do it. Just do
Yeah.
it. And, ask for the support along the way. Ask for support from everywhere that you can get it, and be open about it, and be open to your team, your boss is saying, hey, you know what? I don't know how to do it all, but here's what I'm going to do to be able to do it. And I think if women realize that they don't have to be perfect, they just have to show up, be vulnerable, and say, hey, I can do this, but I'm going to need the support and help to be able to do it. And it's okay. It's okay to fail because you learn the most when you fail. That's when you're learning. If you don't try it and you've never failed, then you're probably not growing either. You're probably not even, progressing in your real professional maturity because you haven't
Yeah.
done anything that you've never done before, So,
Which
and if
one
that,
day you'll probably look back on as a failure is like, I didn't back myself, or I didn't try this, or I didn't
yes,
find out
yes,
what I was capable of. That's another version of failure, right?
yeah, looking back and regretting what you could have done
Yeah.
Yeah.
is probably worse than actually doing it and failing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It just keeps popping up, this idea that you see leadership not as a solo pursuit, but as a collective pursuit. The way you've written your
Absolutely.
book, there's a group. The way you've built your not-for-profit, it's a group. Even the
Mhm.
way you've just described, like even independence and tackling a big challenge, it doesn't have to be a solo pursuit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it,
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
was just
And
going to
that's,
ask, like, is that
Mhm.
something that you've learnt the hard way? Like, did you used to have more of a inwardly looking mindset, and you've had some sort of epiphany or some experience gave you a different way of looking, or has it always been innate to you to just like look at what you do as part of a collective?
Yeah. I think when I was younger, I was of the mindset that I need to do everything by myself. I need to be able to show everyone that I don't need anybody to be successful. I don't need anybody to be successful. And I realized that, wasn't true because I would not have gotten where I am without the support of other people, without somebody telling me, hey, you know what, this is something that you can do. Hey, you're going to go out and you're going to do this. Or, you know what, you need a little coaching because you sounded a little bit snarky, and sounding snarky isn't necessarily powerful. It's just snarky. And so eventually I realized that, I didn't get to where I am because I just did it by myself. I got here because people supported me along the way. And if I had maybe realized that sooner as well, it would have been a lot less stressful for me. Because I had always been the type to think that I had to have all of the answers. I had to be the smartest person in the room. I had to have everyone do exactly what I told them to do. And, I had to lead by fear. And all of that isn't necessarily leadership, but being actually vulnerable and open and, asking for support and help is what really will continuously push you along. And while you are moving up the ladder or moving, into certain rooms, bring somebody with you. Make sure that you're bringing somebody along with you so that they have the opportunity to also learn as well. I think sometimes, in the past, I've been the only woman in a room. I've, sat in a conference room. There are 10 men. There are no other women. And my question is always, why aren't there more women at the table? And so my pursuit has always been to bring more women to the table, figuratively and literally, so that they can learn, and they can do the same for others as well. Yeah.
If there's someone out there who is intoxicated by this idea of like doing things as a collective, and my experience with Filipino people is they prefer doing things as a group rather than on their own,
That's
just
true.
instinctively. But sometimes we might be in an environment where we go, I haven't found my tribe. Yeah, anyone who's found their tribe can resonate so much with what you're saying, but there's probably people out there going, I don't think I've found my tribe, or I don't know how to find my tribe.
Yeah.
What's your best advice for someone who wants to find like-minded people who,
Yeah.
collectively they
Yeah.
can do great things together?
Definitely ask. Look, so if I were in the, if I was in the company and, I was advising women or anybody in the company, doesn't matter who it is, and they're looking for support or they're looking for, a way to be able to collectively find support, I would probably say, look at the people who have the more positive outlook, but who are willing to challenge others as well. I would say, look for a mentor and ask them, can you be my mentor? I've either enjoyed watching you work, or you have said something that I found inspiring, or I just like the way you do your Excel files. I don't know what Can you teach me? I think it's really going out of yourself and just looking and asking people to do it. So, and a lot of times people are absolutely willing. They're flattered, like anybody was watching and saw something good.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, wow, that maybe I can teach or maybe I can mentor. And so then that relationship can potentially, happen just because, you went out and you asked for it as well. And then, there might be things that you're interested in. For me, again, it's, helping others and, having a nonprofit. And so by talking about that, I've actually attracted people who are in the same situation. And so because they are in the same situation, you're attracting them to you, and then that kind of build a network for yourself. In a way. I don't know how the universe works, but if you keep everything to yourself, then you're probably not going to find people. But if you kind of put it out there and you say it to the universe, hey, you know what? This is who I am. This is what I believe in. This is what I want to do. Then other people are like, oh my gosh, I want the same things. Maybe, let's get together. Let's do something together. Yeah, I guess that's kind of, how it is. I guess the same way of finding, your husband or your wife, I suppose. You can't just sit in your room and expect them to knock on your door and say, marry me.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I suppose, like, I completely agree with what you're saying. If someone said, asked me to be their mentor, I wouldn't be like, oh gosh, I don't have time. You're just flattered. You just go, wow, like, I can't believe you chose me. I would love to help you.
Yeah.
I suppose for people who are in those situations where they've found themselves in a mentoring situation, either through their job role or whatever, and they want to be a better mentor to others, or they want to be a better coach, or empower others. What are some of your best tips for being better in the mentor seat for others?
Besides, your structured learning, learning sessions or something like that, outside of that, if they had a mentor themselves, what were the best things out of that mentor, right? What did you observe? If they were a mentor to you, what is it that you learned from them? What was it? Either a technique or a conversation or, a phrase or something that kept them going. And then take that situation and go, oh, okay, so this is something that worked for me as a mentee to this mentor. Maybe I will take that as well and I could do the same. So it's almost like you learned from somebody else to be a mentor. If you have been a mentor before or have tried, then ask your mentee, what is it? Is there something that's working for you that may not be, that I might not be super aware of, or what's not working, so that, I can pivot. So then you kind of change as well. And then I would probably say, look at peers who are also mentors look at peers and say, oh, let's get together and let's just have this talk. Tell me all of the things that you've done. What are your best practices? What are your fears? What have you done that you've learned was completely wrong? What have you gotten too personal? Did you get too, one area or another? Or did you not spend enough time in a certain area? Or did you not see the signs of something from your mentee? So any which way that you can find by a direct observation from something that you've done, direct feedback that you get from others, and then just collectively finding other mentors and say, hey, let's just have a talk. Let's have a chat and see, what's going on, what's working. I would say that's outside of, the structured learning sessions, the trainings that you might get or a podcast or, something that you would learn. But if you have the people who are surrounding you, real stories make a difference to your own mentorship style.
But both in giving a mentor the inspiration, but also in cutting through with the person that they're mentoring is like, if everything's theoretical, it doesn't land. But if it's story-based, it feels more achievable and it kind of lands a bit deeper, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And you get something from different perspective and different
That's right.
experiences as well.
Mhm.
And you can kind of like incorporate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Monica, I have one question, and it's been, I suppose, a bit of a through line is this idea of, and Maria called it out so beautifully, is like saying yes and then figuring out the details later. I recognize that in a lot of leaders and people that I look up to the most is just that, it's an optimism really of going, everything's solvable, everything can be figured out. I suppose I'm interested in if that's something too that's always been instinctive to you, or if that's something you've learnt over time. But I probably, as part of that, I'm just interested for people who maybe see all the details up front and find that paralyzing, and they can just see all the reasons why something won't work and that slows them down. So what would you say to someone like that about the benefits of having a different approach, which is that say yes, find a way?
Right. I think I would say, okay, so here's your situation. Tell me everything that can go wrong. It could be this, and then, there can be a bomb or, again, something else could happen or, all of these scenarios. And then I would say, what if none of that happens?
Yeah.
What would you do? Because you're saying all of these things could happen. Here are all of the reasons why you could be a failure. But what if you did it and none of that really happened?
Yeah.
So, oh, yeah, right. That would happen if I did it and none of that happens. And it's kind of a 50-50. You don't know, You don't know. You can look at all of the risks. Sure, you can mitigate some of those risks. It depends on, what kind of career you have. If you're a surgeon, I'd probably, look at those risks. But, at the same time, you're like, well, you're looking all on one side, all of the things that if you did it, this could happen. But if you did it and none of those happen, what could happen?
Yeah.
What could happen? And here are the things that could happen.
Yeah.
So trying to shift their mind away from all of the things that could go wrong
Yeah.
to, okay, what could happen if everything went right?
Yeah.
So, right? What kind of life do I want to live?
Yeah.
And the thing about sometimes with the people who are like that, uncertainty is very uncomfortable for anybody. So when you have uncertainty and you have these gaps, your brain tries to protect itself.
Yeah.
And the way it protects itself is to think of all of the things that could go wrong,
Yeah.
because it's preparing you for all of the things that could go wrong. And that's
Yeah.
not bad. That's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing to see all of the things that could go wrong. But you also have to think, okay, what if none of those things happen and
Yeah.
all of these good things happen,
Yeah.
right? So just have
Those
to kind of
lines.
figure a way to shift your mind. But it takes work, it takes
Yeah.
work to be able to do that. And it takes practice to go, okay, fine. And acknowledge yourself. You're the type of person that sees all the risks. All right, I see all the risks. Okay, now let me ask myself, what if those things didn't happen? What are the opposite things that could happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't intend the question this way, but it's like I'm almost now it's almost like I asked you, how could you approach that conversation with a parent who was doubting you? It's almost the same thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I wonder if somehow your very caring and loving mum, who definitely had your best interests at heart,
Yeah.
but was concerned about your path, I wonder if somehow she's prepared you mentally for moments where you've got to make a decision where you're like,
Right.
actually, I can just back myself and not worry about these things because things will
Right.
figure themselves out in the end.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she was, she definitely, when we were growing up, a tiger mom, she would really be very insistent on certain things. And, if you got an A, why is it not an A plus? You got a 99, why is it not 100?
Yeah.
But it does, it pushes you. And then she's also the type to look for all of these things that could potentially go
Yeah.
wrong. And she'll point it
Yeah.
out. You could walk down the street and you'd be kidnapped. I'm like, Mom, I'm 50 years old. Nobody wants to
Mm.
kidnap me.
Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah,
gosh.
yeah.
But, it does prepare you for that. But then, what happens if you don't? Because I could say the same
Yeah.
thing to her. When you were
Mhm.
in your 20s and you were leaving the Philippines, so many things could have gone wrong when you went to the US.
Oh
So
gosh.
true.
Yes.
Yes.
So
So
true.
many
Yes,
things.
yes.
And yet,
look at
look
my
what happened. What happened to you when you went to the US? You had all of these different opportunities. You had a beautiful
Mm.
daughter. Very beautiful.
Yeah, that perfect.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yes.
that was a great risk right there. I mean,
That's an evidence.
Yeah.
so yeah, these are really interesting questions, guys. Wow.
Oh.
I don't know.
Making me dig deep.
That was interesting for me because it almost felt like a
Yeah.
Seinfeld episode where all the different plots come together in one moment at the end. That was what that felt like, completely unintentionally. But yeah, I think it's if you have a tiger mum, it's probably, if you choose to stand up for what you think is right and take a risk on yourself, it's probably giving you gifts in the future like the ones you've generously shared with us, Monica.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's been such an amazing chat. We finish each of our conversations with a series of questions we call our quick climb questions. These are rapid fire. Don't overthink. Just get the first thing that comes into your brain. But they really kind of wrap up what we'd love to just tap into some of your leadership philosophies and best tips for up and coming leaders in the Philippines and abroad.
Okay. All right.
So I will start with the first one. What's a big mistake you've made as a leader, and what did you learn from it?
A big mistake was expecting that because I had the title, people would follow. Because I was suddenly given a title of manager and leader, that people would follow. And what I didn't realize at the time is that just because I was handed the title, I got the compensation and everything, it didn't actually mean that I had a relationship with my team and that they actually trusted me. And that was needed in order for them to, follow. Because if you're a leader and you've got the title, nobody's following you, then you're really not a leader. And to be able to build the trust first is really the way that you become the leader that they need. But that was probably one of the mistakes. I remember it very clearly when I was first a leader at Italicare. Just, okay, well, I've got the title of manager, so you have to do what I say. And everything I say is right.
Wow.
And that was completely wrong.
Yeah, great answer.
Relatable, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a separate episode, Maria. We should
Yes.
we should get you both on and talk just about that.
No, because I just want to say, like, Philippines
Yeah.
is so much in hierarchy,
Yeah, yeah,
right? So
Yeah.
there's that. So again, it's a different story.
yeah.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
a very valid one.
Yes, yes. So second question, Monica. What's a surprisingly simple leadership tip that actually worked?
Oh gosh, learning about your team's life outside of work, just learning about their families or what they do outside of work or what do they enjoy doing on the weekends, because then you can tap into their motivation. What keeps them going? Because assuming that money is the only motivator is not right. It's not the best way to motivate people. But if you can understand what their family life is like, how did they grow up, what are the things they love to do, what would they give up if they could, what would they do if money didn't matter to them, finding more about them and what their motivations are will help you as a leader as you try to motivate them too. So I think that's, very simple. And it's, what does that take? Coffee, a snack break or, something like that. And it's just you, maybe two other people just, chatting. And
Yeah.
I think you telling them about yourself also helps open them up to that too. So very simple thing. And
Yeah.
you don't even need to go to a leadership course to do something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
That nailed that. Yeah. Surprisingly simple.
Yeah.
Yes.
Super easy. Yeah.
Now this one I love, and this is kind of tacking onto something that Maria said earlier, because I think people will hear you at the start of this episode or meet you and think, oh, yeah, Monica's got it all figured out. She's perfect, and I just need to be more like her. But this is why I love this question. What are you still trying to get better at, even if you are figuring it out as you go?
Very good question. I think, you kind of pointed it out. I've been in leadership for almost 30 years. And so people assume that I am confident in everything that I do. And I'm confident in every room that I walk into. And I think that that's not always true. There will be like, you have imposter syndrome. Like, can I really do this? I've never done this before. I've never spoken in front of this group of people, or I've never spoken about this topic and related this topic. Or, will anybody believe me if I talk to them about AI? And so I think the one thing that I continuously work on is self-doubt. Because every now and then, even with the things that I have done over almost 30 years of my career, there's still every now and then there's this one tiny little thing like, are you sure you can do this? Will anybody believe you? How do you know that this is going to turn out the way you want? Those kind of things. So it's still these moments of doubt that, I still have to work on and say, you know what? Look, I have never done this before, but, here we are and we're going to do this. So I think that's one thing that people maybe assume because of my career and, what I've been able to achieve and all of that. And I do, and I'm not, I do know that people think that the way I speak is very confident and very eloquent and all of those kind of things. And whenever I hear that, I'm like, really eloquent? You should see me on the weekends. I don't know what I'm saying. Everything shuts down, and I'm like, it's very limited. But that's something that I kind of work on. Is just making sure that I still feel confident, and I still will, overcome these things that every now and then it kind of creeps into my mind. Yeah.
So inspiring.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah. Next question. If you could give one piece of leadership advice to your younger self, what would that be, Mon?
Oh gosh, I think it's not just about leadership, but I think it's just overall. Take it easy. You don't have to take every single thing one personally. You don't have to think that everything is about you and, that people are watching you and, you have to be perfect. I think it's just, when I was younger, I would struggle with, something, somebody's made a decision and I didn't agree with that decision, but we have to do it anyway. And like, I'd stay up at night and I'd be like thinking about it over and over and over again. I would just tell myself to take it easy. It's not. It doesn't have to be that hard. It doesn't have to be that difficult, because even if these certain things are happening and maybe out of your control, or maybe it was within your control, or maybe you allowed it to happen because you took your eye off the ball, just take it easy on yourself. Because if you're constantly beating yourself up, there is no way that you can heal so that you can learn from that. So it would just be like, yeah, I used to be very high strung, but now I'm just like, all right, just these things will pass, and you just kind of have to learn from it. You don't have to take everything personally. The way that person looked at you, they're thinking about you, they're talking behind your back. No, they're not. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care about you. They care about what they're having for lunch. But yeah, that's what I would say. Take it easy.
I think
Take it
that's
easy on
so
yourself.
true though. Like when you're beating yourself up, you're not learning. So
Yeah.
like the best gift from any failure is a lesson or many
Mhm.
lessons. But if you're too
Yeah.
busy like crucifying yourself, you don't get the
Yeah.
best the only good that comes from a failure. Yeah, you miss
Yeah.
out on the only goodness you can possibly salvage.
Yeah.
Really interesting
Exactly.
idea. I've never thought of that
Yeah.
before. That's really insightful.
Yeah.
Now we're
Really.
going to exclude becoming SHEroes from this next question. What is your must-read book for up-and-coming leaders?
I would say, especially for those who are kind of, well, even if they're not, but if you're going from one company to another, or you're going from one country to another, there is a great book called Growth Without Borders by Eva Amable Kolosko. Growth Without Borders. It's on Amazon. And she's a woman that I met a few months ago, and she's the type who will go from country to country. She wants to have a career and she wants to learn from different countries. But she puts all of her learnings together into this book. And she talks about how being a leader in one culture is very different from being a leader in another culture. And what you learn from being a leader in one to another, and how you have to shift but in a way that's it doesn't mean that you lose yourself. So you don't have to change your personality in order to lead somebody from a different country, a different country, or a group from a different country, or that you're in a different country and it's a different culture. And she puts it very, very well about how there are some things that are the same, because people are generally the same. But there are some things that you kind of have to open up and you have to shift.
Yeah.
Part of that is just being open and observing first to see how people will react to your speaking style, even as simple as your speaking style, how
Yeah.
that could affect whether or not you can trust that person. Because some people, it's kind of, you speak very warmly and you speak, very easy. And other cultures are just, straightforward,
Strong. Yeah.
and very strong. She even talks about how accent makes a difference too. Not that you should change your accent, but you should just be aware. And sometimes people will think that, and she has made the same mistake as well, as when you hear an accent, you think, oh, she doesn't understand. But that's not always true too. And I think this, even if, it was written in a way that's for those who are kind of crossing borders, it can also help when you're going to different companies, because companies have different cultures as well.
Cultures, yeah.
And they have a different composition of types of people. And so the concepts from this book, Growth Without Borders, really does also help you in those areas too. So I think that that's an interesting book for a leader.
Yeah.
It's just learning about different cultures, how you can change or how you can shift the way you communicate to others too.
Even for a lot of Filipinos or Filipinas who are working with clients in another country, like you don't even need to be moving.
Absolutely.
It just
Yeah.
sounds so relevant to our team, doesn't it, Maria?
Yeah.
Super. Because we are
Yeah.
going global. So we've got
Yeah.
Australia,
Exactly.
New Zealand, UK, and whatever
Yeah.
country will
Yeah.
there be.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is the final question. It would be very interesting how you would answer this.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Monica, what is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh my God. I hate karaoke. I'm probably part of the 1% of Filipinos that
Yes, you
cannot
are.
sing and doesn't like karaoke.
Doesn't
I
like-
mean, I don't like karaoke. I don't like karaoke. It's so, I don't know why. I don't know why. Everybody loves it. Everybody wants to go out and karaoke. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And I'm like one of those, I'm a shower singer. I sing in the shower. And that's basically it. So I don't actually even have a karaoke song that I would do.
What about
I
shower
don't
song?
have one. Shower song, it's usually right now it changes, but I really like Olivia Dean.
Ah,
Yeah, I really, Man That I Want, and, I dive, and so I really like Olivia Dean right now. So she's my go-to right now, but a lot of Michael Jackson songs, actually, I really like too. Oh my gosh, I'm old. I would like to be A-side.
But it's a good dance in the shower with a Michael Jackson song
right?
on.
Michael Jackson songs, Janet Jackson, Michael Jackson, the Jacksons,
Yeah.
Jackson 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I do. Yeah, I liked a lot when I was growing up. I liked a lot of Motown because it's very,
Oh,
it's
nice.
kind
Yeah.
of bluesy, and everybody kind of they harmonize and they dance together, and yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Sorry,
Monica,
I
uh,
karaoke.
yeah. Oh, no, that's absolutely fine. Thank you for being honest. You just told us how it was.
Absolutely.
And yeah, you're doing your own karaoke. It's just not the traditional
group,
karaoke.
yeah.
But you're still
Right.
karaokeing in your
Yeah.
own way. It's private
Yeah.
karaoke. Yeah. Monica, thank you so much for being so generous with your time, but also for being really vulnerable and open and sharing, I suppose, the behind the scenes of what goes into
Yeah.
someone who's got a beautiful life and career like you do.
Thank
Uh,
you.
It's also just so inspiring to hear about the amazing work you're doing with Victoria Heartstrong. If
Thank
anyone
you.
listening out there wants to find out more, wants to get involved, how can they find you guys?
They can find us on our website, victoriaheartstrong.com. And they can reach us through the email section there. We're also on LinkedIn, so you can also send a message. I get all of those messages as well. Or if they just want to email me directly, they can as well. It's MVMARALIT, so MV Maralit at victoriaheartstrong.com. So if they want to learn more, they want to volunteer, they want to donate, their company wants to do something with our girls, yeah, you can contact us that way.
Awesome. My mind has been whirring on ways that 5L can get involved, so I'd love to talk to you about that offline. But
Definitely.
I just wanted to end by saying I think you have found a way to become an Asian version of Oprah in your own way. And
Yes.
you're making an impact. You're making people feel more confident and empowered and dreaming and living a bigger life than they could possibly have ever imagined. And that's beautiful work. So thank you for everything you're doing, and absolutely
Yeah.
love this chat. I think it's going to make a big difference to a lot of people.
Thank you. Thank you guys too. I mean, this was very, a lot more than I thought that it would be. And it really made me like dig deep and think about things that I don't usually talk about. But you guys, really opened me up, and I really enjoyed the talk. And I hope that we'll be able to do this again or in person and just hang
Yes.
out. It'd be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, that would be
Yeah.
really fun to hang out. If you're ever in Cebu, hit up
Oh.
Maria. And if I'm in town too, I'd
Yes.
love to catch up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I will have a couple of trips to Cebu this year. So I'll
Oh,
definitely
nice.
reach out to you. Yeah, Maria.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah, great.
Awesome.
Good.
Thank you so much for being so generous with your time. We really
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
problem.
Monica.
Been
No
such a great chat.
problem. No problem. Thank you guys.
I remember speaking to a mate of mine who's a financial advisor. Shout out to Matt Leach if you're listening. And he once said to me, I asked him, like, what do you love about being an advisor? He said, it's just an absolute privilege that people open up to you and share their deepest hopes and dreams. And for them to trust you enough to open up, it's an honor. And I feel like that in the podcast is that, what we had multiple times our wonderful guest Monica say, gosh, I've never thought about that before. Or you guys have asked me questions that made me really dig deep. And I mean, that's kind of our job. But it's also an honor when someone goes through that with you and will open up and share the behind the scenes, because it's the bit that we rarely see, but it's
Yeah.
the bit that, as a listener, it makes me feel more valid in some of the things I struggle with. You go, oh, cool. I'm not alone. Like there's someone else who's gone through that or experienced that or felt that way. But it also just teaches you so much. It really is such a gift to be able to share how you're feeling and the struggles you've been through. And it kind of helps other people avoid things that we've struggled with. So that being said, as a white Australian male, I got heaps out of it. But I think the message will really land because, the young up and coming Filipinas is the group that she works with and helps the best. So I think there's so much there. But you are, Maria, a young Filipina. So I'd be interested in your experience. What was it about the chat with Monica that really resonated with you?
I'm not quite so sure about the young, but I'll take that. Uh, but with Monica, I think there's always this perfect picture of, if you look at her profile, look at the things that she has done and she's doing right now. It's picture perfect Filipina, Asian, overachiever lady. But this conversation is just, you just really see the raw human Monica. And she even talks about the deepest secrets about her mom, her family. She spoke about the brother and the things in the background, and even some secrets in the shower of singing and things like that. So I think what I got most out of it is because initially I was also really fangirling. I was looking at her profile, I was reading some of her articles and watching her videos, but it made me realize how comfortable I was in that conversation. And sometimes we always get stuck in that thought that, oh, this person is such a high pedestal, the title is such this and it's hard to reach. But really, if you start a conversation with those kinds of people, you learn a lot. I learned a lot from it. I feel like it was a one-on-one mentorship kind of conversation as well for me, because she touched a lot of things that are, even until now, are current challenges that I have.
There's always things in an episode where it kind of validates things you already think. You're like, yes, wow, yeah, other people see the world that way. But I'd say every episode there's at least one, but always one thing where you go, oh my gosh, like that's such a fresh perspective, and I've never thought quite in that same way about leadership.
Thanks for listening to Ascenso Tayo Leaders. If something landed with you today, don't just keep it in your head. Make sure you try it. Kaya mo yan. Ascenso Tayo Leaders is brought to you by 5Elk, a team who helps great businesses build great offshore teams. If you're curious about what we do or what it's like to work with us, you'll find everything you need at 5elk.com. And if you're leading people but want to find ways to do it better, make sure to follow us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or your podcast platform of choice, so you're the first to know when we release a new episode. Remember, you're not meant to have it all worked out. Just keep taking the next step. Ascenso tayo!